Ring ring, it's time for another episode of Crossplay Conversations, the show where we dive deep into the world of video games while keeping it light. This episode is our 2025 Game of the Year Spectacular, Part 1. We're running through a bunch of awesome categories, and we're really excited to celebrate the year 2025. I have purple hair, audio viewers, that doesn't work. Audio listeners, you're going to want to watch the video version, because I did dye my hair for you and for the children. But coming off our Extra Life fundraiser. But enough about that. Let's jump into the crew today. We have with us the sneaker savant, the engaged one, Joseph Hooper.
What's up? I have a very special prop for us today. I have the one and only Red Prince.
Yo!
From the acclaimed Blueprint.
Oh, it's so cute.
Fans of the game now.
Look at that.
I want it so bad.
That's really
That's
pretty.
not only it, though. I also have...
Wow.
Oh!
The basement
this
key.
guy. For the people who know,
That's huge.
they know. It's life
so
size.
big.
I could go down to the basement and open it
You
right
could go
now.
down and open it right now.
Oh,
I love
it
that.
fell.
Love that. Next up, we have the queen of the cozy game, Claire Helmberger / Lewis.
Hey, I do not have any cool I have this. Actually, I have this very cozy.
It's a very cute mug. That is very
cozy. So,
And of course, rounding out the quartet, it's the king of the 3D printer, Jacob McCourt.
Hey, it's me. I needed to match you, Hooper. I went and I ran,
Ooh.
and I got my version of that. So we're twins.
that's awesome.
Did she pull that
Basement
out of
key
a
boys.
blind box, or did she just? Did you buy that?
Yeah, so I bought 3 of the blind boxes from I'm8bit, and this
Nice.
is one of
Honestly,
the ones that was pulled.
That's like one of the rarer ones. That's pretty good.
No, it's common, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They have like different levels of rarity. They're sold out now. Hopefully they do it again someday. But 70% are common, or 60% common, 30% uncommon, and then 10% are rare. And they don't even tell you what the keys are.
Interesting.
Is that one of the rare ones? What's
No,
that?
this is common. This is the silver key.
Just a silver key.
Oh, the silver key.
I actually
Classic.
traded this with somebody in the Blueprints Discord. I originally had the Prism key, and we organized a trade. So I mailed mine to her. She mailed hers.
That's
to
so
me.
cute.
That is
Silver
really
key.
cute. God, I love how deep you are into.
I'm
I
deep in
would expect nothing less, but that's very impressive. I immediately regretted not buying any of the key blind boxes. The garden one specifically was really cool.
I think they might
that
do
I
a
saw
restock.
floating around.
Garden is
From
so-
what I'm hearing,
They have
so.
to. I'm sure those sold like hotcakes.
Yeah, I would buy a couple this go around. Very cool. Well, blueprints will probably be discussed today. I have a feeling. If I was a betting man, I would wager. But today we are running through the first half-ish of our categories. We're going to see how many of these we can get through, and then we'll come back in part 2. We'll reveal our top 10 games of the year as a collective outlet and run through any remaining categories we have. I'm going to read through all of our categories, and then we can just jump right into things, because shenanigans are afoot. So, this year we have Best Gameplay Loop, Most Underrated Game, The Business Boys 2025 Bit of Bad Business, the Luke Lewis Chill Out with a Coffee on a Rainy Weekend Afternoon Game, trademark, Hooper's Puzzle Paradise Award, Claire's Creatively Cozy Award, Best Music, Best Visuals Technical, Best Visuals Art Direction, Best Narrative, our top 10 games of the year, and then new for this year, we're doing our personal favorite 2025 moment in gaming. So we'll each shout out a spoiler-filled moment that we really enjoyed in games, and we'll do that right after we reveal our top 10 as the very last thing. So if you want to avoid spoilers, chances are we'll avoid spoilers, but if we don't, we'll have clear timestamps and all that good stuff marked in the episode description. Everyone, are we ready for the first category?
Hell yeah.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it. All right, we have Best Gameplay Loop. The nominees are Final Fantasy Tactics, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Blueprints, Citizen Sleeper 2, Death Stranding 2, Hades 2, Ooh, Megabonk, Split Fiction, The King is Watching, Peak, Consume Me, and Absalom. Where do we want to begin here? Traditionally, I think every year we do an overall winner, and then a runner-up, and then sometime more honorable mentions if we feel the need to give more shout-outs, but these are all great games, so at the end of the day, that's fun.
Start
Joseph
out
Hooper.
with an interesting thing here. Let's
Please
start
do.
all the way back to when I first
Okay.
heard about Megabonk. All right, Megabonk happened very similar to Vampire Survivors, or Is that the name of the game? Vampire Survivors?
Yep.
Where
the name of the
I
game.
heard of the game. I was like, okay, people are talking about this. I looked at it and I'm like, this can't be the game everyone's talking about. In the case of Vampire Survivors, it just looked super low res, like a mobile game. I was like, I'm not interested in that. With Megabonk, it turned out, I was like, whoa, they just ripped off Vampire Survivors. There's no way this could be good. This seems cheap, whatever. Since that fateful day, and since I've, actually got a code for Megabonk and started playing it, this game is like crack. It's impossible to put down, to the point where even like a week or two ago, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'll go back to Megabonk. It's kind of just the same thing, just doing the same loops. It's kind of like a little bit of a waste of time. I've still played Megabonk probably hours since I made that statement to myself. I don't know what it is about it, but it's one of the strongest gameplay loops I've seen in a while. I can't put the dang game down, despite appearances, because looking at it, I was not interested. I was trying to be holier than thou and say, no, not for me, but it got me.
Yeah, I'll shout out Megabonk as well. Similar trajectory with me of when I saw it, I was like, clearly a ripoff, clearly not worth my time. It continued to kind of gain traction throughout the year. Like, it was really highly trending on Steam. But then even in the games media sphere, like, folks started to shout it out and say, like, no, this game maybe a little mindless, but still fun. So I jumped in, and I've played like 20 hours of Megabonk this year, guys. It's rough, but it's very, I don't know. I really love it. I think it's a solid Survivors like, and I do think it has done things to elevate itself from just being a ripoff. I think it's hard to do things in a 3D space. I think they came up with cool characters that have unique powers that do different things. The level verticality is simple enough, but still very fun to maneuver through each time. You're unlocking new powers. As you're progressing, you unlock new items and characters and things that you can find within a level, which kind of incentivized me to keep playing, to get currency, to then unlock new items to keep the runs fresh. So it hasn't become stale and is still my go-to, like, wind down. I have 20 minutes at the end of the night kind of game, and that 20 minutes usually turns into longer just because it is that one more run classic thing, but I think it works really well. So I don't know if it'll win overall, but I think it warrants being here.
I think just the way that you have to approach each run, where deciding when to pop the boss gate, for example, just that mechanic in itself really separates it from games like Vampire Survivors. I think now we are probably at the moment where we're going to get a ton more of these Megabonk-likes, I guess. Is it then a Survivors-like? Is it Megabonk-like? I don't know. But I played it for a couple hours and went, yeah, this is really cool, and could be a game that I could see myself playing on Steam Deck for 10 minutes before I go to bed every night. I totally understand how people got sucked into it. I think it's got a pretty cool loop. I think the one contrarian point I want to make is that it is not a wholly new gameplay loop. It is essentially just a build on a good one. So agree, but if it's... I'm not saying you guys are like, this needs to be the number one champion, but that's my only caveat, is that it's a build rather than something entirely new.
The only thing I'll say contrary to that, and I'm not even, like, Megabonk isn't my die on a hill game, but when Super Mario 64 came out, that was an evolution of an established platforming genre. So in my mind, this is kind of taking it one step further. If this is one of the first that I've seen do it really well in a 3D space. So just giving the shout out for that. But also, listeners, disclaimer, apologies for my voice. I've been sick all week. I kind of sound like trash. We got some throat coat tea going here. Carrying on. Anyway.
Heck yeah, just like the voice actors do.
Trying out here. But yeah, Megabonk's very cool, but I don't know if it has to hang. Claire, do you have anything that... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jacob.
No, go ahead, Claire.
No, you're good.
Go for it. I was not going to say anything about Megabonk, so if you have
well, I
more
was
to
just
say
going
about
to
Megabonk.
segue to a new... Yeah, so if you have...
Claire, you segue, because I was going to segue too.
Okay, speaking of a game that builds on a previously established loop in a way that is new and exciting, Hades 2.
Well done.
Hades already exists. We love Hades. Hades inspired countless ripoffs. The resurgence of the roguelike genre, some could say. Hades 2, more Hades, but also new stuff. Very cool. I have really enjoyed playing more Hades, with the new added narrative, the completely different like weapons mechanics, and using like the cauldron and crafting and collecting. There's like way more like foraging for items, which is really cool. And then there's the new element of you can go down or you can go up, and I think I just recently started going up. I've kind of procrastinated that and then realized that I needed it to advance, and I'm not gonna like get like too into the spoilers, but I really love the way that the world is different up there, and the way that you explore and move forward is not just what you are used to from Hades 1, and also like when you get down into like the third world as you descend, it's also different. Like it's a little more open, there's more exploration and choice in terms of your paths, which I think is really interesting, and like a lot of different boons and different ways to build out your stats and build out your run. Getting to know the characters and their dynamics and like what is going on with the narrative is also really interesting. I haven't finished the game. I think I am probably about halfway done with completing an actual successful run, although every once in a while I'll get on a heater and just go way further than I thought I would. Like the first time I went up, I made it to the third boss.
Hey.
So like who's to say, might beat it on my next run. But yeah, I've really been loving Hades 2. Does a good thing even better. So
Can I ask who's played, like how much Hades 2 everyone has played around the table?
A little bit. I don't remember the last time we talked about it, but I don't think I've played it since then. So maybe like 20-ish hours or less, probably like 15 really, since I started the new game.
I played like 3 or 4 in early access, and then like another 3 or 4 in 1.0. So I think I've played the least of anybody here for sure.
I have played 47 hours of Hades 2.
He's a sicko.
And so a sicko. And so, Claire, when you were talking about how almost how well and how complimentary the new stuff goes in, the new stuff is so good that I had to think back to Hades 1 and go, wait, the cast wasn't exactly like this. Mm-hmm. The charge attacks, the Omega attacks weren't in this. Mm-hmm. The Arcana wasn't in here. The weapons are all entirely new. I think I take issue with some of the Hades 2 story stuff, which maybe we'll cover later in these conversations. But I think as far as a game goes, as far as the loop goes,
yeah,
the way the progression works, the systems they've layered on, the animal familiars that you can get, which is an entirely new system. There's just so many cool systems that are added on that I think just make this game great.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard a lot of people have issues with where the narrative goes, and I haven't gotten there. So I'm like,
And also, they changed the narrative from when they released it to a few weeks afterwards. They added a narrative, so you could actually, if you had played through the game in the first couple of weeks, you could reset it and then see how the new ending was. And it sounds like people still weren't. We got Mass Effect 3 again.
Yeah.
Interesting. I will say, even from my limited time, there's so many new layered systems that it definitely feels like a unique experience that definitely warrants being here.
Can I make a shocking comment real fast?
Yeah, please.
For a game that's not on this list, because I think
Sure.
of these two games sort of similarly.
Yeah.
And I know they're different, but Hollow Knight Silksong isn't on this list. And not to add games, but Hooper, why did you not throw it on here?
Because in terms of
Because you'd be the guy.
In terms of best gameplay loop, I think I opted for games that were a little more new to me. Like, I like the Hollow Knight gameplay loop, but when we're talking about the loop itself is essentially Hollow Knight. Even though like the aspects of the loop are better, you're still beating bosses, platforming just at a higher degree, which I would say about Hades 2. That's another reason why I personally wouldn't have added Hades on there. But it's good. I just don't think it's hard to impress me when I've already played like basically the same game, but a sequel. So that's the only reason why. we'll talk about Silksong, I think. I don't know if I even added it
Yeah.
to
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll for sure talk about it. I can shout out a couple here that I put on. I added The King is Watching, which is a really great tower defense game. We've talked about it on the show previously, but I think it has such a succinct loop. I think the concept of like the grid-based system where you can only have a certain number of tiles like active at any one given time. It sounds complicated, but it almost simplifies things more in a way that I thought was really, really satisfying. And I thought you unlock more things as you continue to play. And it's really fun. Big fan.
I like that one too.
Yeah, please.
King is Watching. Definitely caught me off guard. It's one of those games where you look at the gameplay video and it looks like it's just going to be too much for you. But they do such a good job at like ramping you up on it that you're like, wait a second. I'm like, it starts to click way faster than you think it would. And like Luke said, the way that it evolves, even through a single run, is really impressive. And you can kind of really get deep in the weeds about it very early on. And this is another one that's like super addicting, super satisfying. And to me, it felt like, oh, this game is kind of breaking me into the kind of strategy genre without me kind of like willingly going down that path. So I appreciate it. I always appreciate when a game kind of like simplifies or makes this genre a little bit more approachable, similar to like Hades 1 did with roguelikes. So big fan.
And I love all the little narrative bits that you get like between like attacks where it'll just be like you have to make a decision and then ultimately you get resources or troops and things, but like the little dialogue bits that you get are so funny of like you send people out to hunt a wild boar and the wild boar escaped and evaded your men, so down, troop morale is down, but wildlife is increased, or like little stats like that are really fun.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Peak was another one I added to the list.
Shout out Peak.
Shut up, Peak.
So much fun playing that game with friends. Arguably, like, in terms of just moment to moment, the most fun I had with a single game this year. So funny, so clever, so simple in execution, but I think it works so well. It's hard to compare that experience to these other loops, but the loop of squadding up with friends, shooting the shit in the airport, going into the mission, inevitably dying, and then running it back is a really good one.
Yeah.
And I know there's been proximity chat in other games,
Sure.
but I think it almost doesn't work without the proximity chat, and it just works really well when, example, you take the bugle horn with you that has no utility beyond being annoying, but you very much, if you're wearing headphones, if someone is blowing that bugle horn, you kind of look up and you know exactly where they are, and it just is almost so core to the experience, almost more important than the climbing piece of it.
Yeah. I was looking at an interview of like the Aggro Crab lead talking about like them making this, and he was talking about how because they only had like 6 weeks to make this, like during their game jam, they really had to like key in on what parts of the gameplay loop they wanted to focus on and what would really make or break the game. So I think they started with like deciding it was going to be kind of like a survival climbing game, and kind of everything was built around that climbing. And I think that stamina bar that they added is also very iconic in terms of like having your hunger and stamina and all these things kind of all crammed in within this single bar. Makes it very easy to read, very easy to understand. And then like Jacob said, with the proximity chat and even like random features like the Scoutmaster, who is specifically there for people who like leave the rest of their team behind. It'll chase them down and kill them occasionally. I think genuinely in terms of like a tight gameplay loop, this is something they made within 6 weeks, and I think it's probably one of the most addictive gameplay loops, as their sales numbers have shown out of the year. So
It's real solid.
Yeah.
Jacob, I know you put a couple of these on towards the top. Do you want to touch on some of your picks?
Yeah, let me speed through two of them. So, Final Fantasy Tactics: The Evil East Chronicles is a remake of the original, where they have kind of, I don't want to say sanded off some of the edges, but made it a more modern take on that game, which is, 20 plus years old at this point. The job system is the specific part of the gameplay that I think is really great, where it's a very solid tactics game where you only control a few characters. If you think of Fire Emblem, you've got a crew of 20 characters that you're kind of throwing about. With Final Fantasy Tactics, the Evil East Chronicles, I think there's only 3 characters that you kind of work with. And so you just have to be really strategic with the way that you work with those. Maybe it's 4. It's actually 4. Sorry, it's been months since I played this game. But the thing that you explore with each character is that you're not expected to spec into a specific job. So in Fire Emblem, you've got an axe, you've got a guy who has axe, you've got a guy who has sword, and then they just become better guy with sword or better guy with axe, and maybe they have armor with that axe. With this, you're expected to jump around the job tree, and by the end of it, you get into very specific rarefied job types because you have leveled up 3 to 4 different jobs that just work towards this very rarefied, awesome job. Experimenting with this is the thing that I will look back very fondly on in this game, so that's the thing that I'll bring about. I don't think it's the best gameplay loop of the year, but I think when I was playing it, that's the thing I was super drawn into. The second game that I want to cover really quickly is Citizen Sleeper 2 Starboard Vector. I think we talked a little bit about how Hades added layers onto a really good core. I think that this is kind of does the same, where you've got stress and push and your dice can break. And there's also multi-mission or sort of multi-day side missions that you can go on. Also traveling within space instead of just being on one space station. That's the difference between Citizen Sleeper 2. And I might talk about this later in our conversations, but my second favorite moment of the year, I guess it's not a spoiler, but there were times where my mission came down to a single dice roll, and those were probably among my favorite times of the year. I just remember, being on my couch in January of last year, about this time last year, just pumping my fist as I was making these dice rolls that were impossible and almost like skating by the skin of my teeth. That's the whole thing with Citizen Sleeper, is you should just be getting by, like right by a razor's edge at all times. And so that's what I love about Citizen Sleeper 2. I know a couple of people here have played it, so I'd love to know anything to add on the CS2 bandwagon. Hooper, I like how you were the one who told me to play the first one, I love it. I've made it my personality now.
Go ahead, Luke.
I think the game is great. I'm still working my way through it, but I think everything you said, Jacob, is totally spot on. And we've mentioned it on the show before, but just that game does so much for world building with so little, and I think the characters keep you coming back and wanting to go through that gameplay loop. And I do think, as someone who's never really gotten into tabletop RPGs or dice roll based storytelling, I think it's a great onboarding. It's a great user experience, and I think it flows really well. To the point where, if you're not a dice-based person or even a visual novel person, but really enjoy game story, I think this is definitely worth your time, and I think the loop that you're talking about is really, really solid.
Yeah, I'm kind of the Jacob of the group this year, where I didn't really play much of Citizen Sleeper 2, but everything he said is how I felt about the first one in general. So I have no doubt that the second one hits these and probably has a few higher highs on them. So yeah, I totally agree that that there's nothing more satisfying than knowing your probability and being able to actually hit it when the odds are stacked against you. I want to close out a few of the other ones that I had on here, which I think were just maybe 2. Ooh, which I don't know how many people have actually played Ooh just in general in terms of listening to this podcast, but it's a very short game, maybe a 3-hour game, puzzle game, and it probably is one of the best puzzle games that at tutorializing a specific concept, having you practice that concept 2 or 3 times, and then giving you kind of the final exam on that concept. This game does that perfectly. There's no fluff, no bloat. The game is very short and to the point in terms of like, hey, you're jumping into it. Here's the skill you have right now. Here's a couple different puzzles that we're gonna kind of lead the witness about in terms of like how to solve them. And then here's like a really challenging puzzle. And you kind of get into this flow state of like, really, how fast can you truly digest what they're telling you can do with these different mechanics? And the way they build on to each other is like super, super impressive. And there's some really fun puzzles, especially towards the end. So I added this. I'm pretty sure I added this. I think I added this because of just how fluid that loop was. And I never felt like I was like really stuck, and unless it was like one of those like final exam moments where I'm like, dang, this is kind of hard. I sat there and maybe max 10 minutes after, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, I figured it out and I was able to keep going. But yeah, in terms of puzzle games, I think this is pretty like gold star in terms of gameplay design. And then Death Stranding 2, surprisingly, coming off of Death Stranding 1, where I really didn't like the gameplay loop. I was very close to quitting the game multiple times. Death Stranding 2 is like complete 180 in terms of like, I loved being in the Death Stranding 2 world, probably because they made it a lot more easier to just do whatever you want. I spent hours, literally hours, just gathering resources, driving them back and forth between my bases, building up different rail lines, and like building a full rail system around this dang island. Like, I was in my element. It felt like I was playing like Truck Simulator or something like that in terms of just like hauling resources. Like, I love the main story, but it's crazy that I almost never think about the main story first when I think about Death Stranding 2. It's about journeying in my truck or whatever to a new location and then just being like, all right, time to get to hauling resources around and building out stuff. So I don't know, maybe I should play Euro Truck Simulator, but this is great.
Maybe you should play like Factorio.
I mean, maybe.
That's kind of what Death Stranding gets to.
I might have to.
It's a good loop. Claire, do you want to talk about any of these ones that you've played that we haven't touched on yet?
I'll talk about Consume Me, which has a really great loop. I feel like I'm about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way through the game.
What chapter are you on?
I think I just got to chapter 4.
You're almost done.
Okay.
Without spoiling.
But yeah, I really love the loop of you have a certain number of days before your next like weigh in, and at first it's just the dieting, and trying to meet your diet goal, your weight loss goal, but also they start building in other challenges, and it just gets more stressful and amps up. I love the commentary that the gameplay loop itself makes on the story the game is trying to tell. I think it's really powerful. I think they go hand in hand in a really in a way that feels really intentional and really well done. But it's also it's an addictive loop, which also is a commentary on the subject matter. But it's just like, I gotta get the right number of bites, and I gotta do all these tasks, and I gotta maximize my time by making sure that I am, being a well-rounded person and doing all my chores and meeting all of the expectations. It's like, yeah, God, that's what.
And maybe finding God too.
Yeah. That's what it feels like to be a teenager, though. It's like there's all these stakes, and then the way that it like impacts your relationships. I just thought I found the gameplay loop really entertaining, but also that it had a message as a loop, which I think is not something every game does. So that's very cool. I also have a couple other ones on here that I'll shout out, but if other people want to talk about Consume Me too.
I think the cool part about Consume Me is you can tell that there's just so much effort that was put into all corners of it, from visual design to some of the gameplay elements, the mini games, the bites mini game in itself could have been a mobile game, and then you'll have other aspects of this. Even just like throwaway moments that are just these vignettes where there's bespoke pieces of like small little gameplay elements that I just really adored throughout. So yes, the Consume Me just has many gameplay loops, all of which I think are pretty cool.
Yeah, I think you can't understate like the way they're able to juxtapose like WarioWare-esque mini games with such a meaningful, intimate, personal narrative, and make that a cohesive loop that you want to keep going back to. real solid. I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I can shout out. I think there's a big one on here that we're not talking about. That
Talk about it.
Sure. Okay.
Or you don't have to. I'm just.
Blueprints. When we think about best gameplay loop, I opened up the doc. I was like, okay, someone already put it on there. I don't need to add anything. I think I did. I might have put Consumi on here. But yeah, Blueprints. Everybody, come on. Just it's so addicting. There are so many times where I started a run and I was like, this will be a quick 20 minutes, and then it's like an hour and a half because you just get so much further, and you're unlocking all of these secrets and puzzles, and it is so much fun. Whether you are trying to tackle something specific or you are early on in your playthrough and you're just trying to get as many different rooms as you can, or whether you're just exploring, or whether you're just standing in the drawing room trying to figure out what the fuck that puzzle is, which I still have not figured out. Fuck that puzzle. And I love the gameplay loop so much because it is so deep and also like simple enough in a sense of you're just drawing rooms and creating a path, but it's also there's just so many layers to it. Blueprints.
Love it. I'll save my blueprint storage for later, but the only reason that I didn't talk about it for gameplay loop is because the one thing that people try to hold against it is that they think the RNG is a little too unforgiving, which personally I don't agree with. I like the RNG where it is. But I know that the haters use that against us as blueprints, gospel sayers. So, but yeah, I agree with Claire. I was addicted to the loop 24/7. But at the same time, I don't know if that's the loop or if that's the secrets, like the fact that they have so many breadcrumbs embedded within the game itself that I just can't leave those threads untapped. But yeah, I think pretty much everybody I know that ends up loving the game like eventually got consumed by it at some point and just like couldn't put it down, and that's kind of how the roller coaster starts.
Definitely. I will say, puzzle mechanics aside, I think if the game literally was just create a path from point A to point B using these rooms, it would still be a great game.
That's true. Yeah.
I also say that I feel like the loop it adds is giving that roguelite element to the puzzle genre, because I think if it was just a straightforward puzzle game, we wouldn't be talking about it for this category. But I think the fact that like you can have a successful run where you make a bunch of discoveries followed by several runs where you don't accomplish maybe the given goals but make different discoveries and go down these different rabbit holes, like I think getting lost in the sauce is almost the loop that I would argue for with this one. But yeah, moment to moment, I think there are maybe stronger picks for this category inherently, but Blueprints will definitely get its time to shine, I think.
For the record, everybody at home, this is my let me hold myself back so I don't only seem like I'm a Blueprint shill like Game of the Year.
Granted,
episode,
I want to say before I move on, my Game of the Year, arguably like a new top 5 game of all time for me, so I'm more offering it up in a similar fashion of like, I don't want to seem like I only endorse this game, because I would vote it for basically every category if it was just up to me to write things down. Go ahead, Jake.
I think I'm probably the coolest on Blueprints out of the 4 of us potentially, and I just thought Blueprints was a lock here. I truly thought that if I think of games this year,
I would certainly won't argue it.
Games that do the coolest, newest thing. Maybe not the newest thing, but the coolest thing, and where it's an onion where you're just peeling layers back and peeling layers back and peeling layers back. And arguably, I probably played 40 hours of it, saw the quote-unquote first end, if you will. I have no spoilers here. Then my partner went and just played it for tons on her own to discover every single secret. I think just the one more run, one more run. Yes, there's RNG involved, but I think that there are a few games that deliver on the highs that Blueprints delivered when you make a discovery and figure something out on your own. So I just figured it was a lock here.
See,
I
that's
have
how
no
you
issue
do it,
with
ladies
that.
and gentlemen. You
We
plant
did
the
it.
seed in other people's minds.
I feel like there are some games on here that still haven't been
I was
touched
gonna
on.
do
Okay.
some quick
Yeah.
shouts.
Ooh, banana.
Donkey Kong, very fun game.
Yeah.
The only criticism I can really lobby against that game is it's a little one note in its gameplay loop. I think it's a very fun gameplay loop. The fact that smashing everything just works from a level design and technical perspective, stellar.
It
Fantastic.
just works.
It shouldn't. You know what I mean? By all accounts, like, you are breaking levels in that game constantly. And you can. And it's fine. And it's
And
encouraged.
the camera's bad, but it still works.
Yeah.
There's enough little nitpicks I have of that one, though, that I wouldn't argue that it's, like, the best, but I do think it's compelling and
Worth shouting
fun
out.
nonetheless.
Yeah.
Good video game. I threw Absalom on this list as well. What if Hades was just the most kick-ass beat 'em up game that you could also play in co-op? It's
There you
really
go.
great. It's really good. I love that game as well. I don't know who put Split Fiction. Do we want to talk about Split Fiction for this one?
It might have been me that put Split
Might have been-
Fiction.
Actually, I think
It
it
might have been me.
might have been me.
It might have been Claire. Claire, go for it.
Okay. I want to say I have no judgment towards it. I just wasn't the one who put it, so I didn't know.
Who
I
put
think all of
this
us are
on
kinda
there?
like-
Yeah, no,
This-
it wasn't. I didn't.
Kind of. I don't know. I think that I like that. Like It Takes Two, anytime it introduces a new mechanic and you play it, if you don't love it, it's okay, because when the level is over, you're gonna do something else instead. I like how obviously teamwork, super important, super fun. Not all of the mechanics in the different levels are bangers. Luke and I got to a level last week and we were like, fuck this. This is not good. This is bad. But then it was over, and
Wait,
that
what
was
was
and we're
this?
like, okay, thank God. It was there was a world where it was like the sun was dying and it kept flashing. And you had to like
Oh.
run in between the barriers. And we were just like,
Oh,
this
yeah,
is dumb. But then we moved on because it was just a
It's
mini world.
fast enough.
It's fast
that-
enough.
Yeah.
And some of them are really fun, and there's just a lot of like whimsy in the different worlds. So I think it's just like the way that you're moving in between areas quickly enough to have it. You can learn what it is they're trying to have you do, and you can get good at it, and then you can do something else. So
All right, so we locking in Blueprints.
I'm down. I love Blueprints. No qualms. Do we want to determine a runner-up, or like what's even like our top one or two on this one
So-
aside from Blueprints?
Quick, like behind the curtain
Poll.
thing. Last year, did we do a runner-up, or did we all just have a second vote? Like, did we all have a personal vote? Like, I don't remember what we did because I remember
That's
us
a
selecting.
great
I think
like
in some
four.
categories we did one,
if
and then
only
for
we
like
still
Business
had
Boy
access
we
to the
did
doc.
multiple.
Sorry, we deleted that doc, and it's.
I can open the doc. What I recall was that we had one runner-up, but if it was divisive, we would give individual shout-outs or multiple.
For gameplay, we
Honorable
gave
mentions.
multiple runners up.
Okay, there we go. We can do that again if we would
if
like.
Blueprints did not exist, what would everybody's favorite game be in terms of gameplay loop on this list? Roundtable, ready to go.
I feel like y'all talked me up on Peak. I was excited
That's
about
good.
Peak, but then talking about it, I was like, it's a really strong loop. It's simple. It's well executed. It had the staying power throughout this year. So I would
Peak is
shout out
strong.
Peak personally.
Just to revise what I'd said earlier, we did a winner and then two runners up in almost every category,
Okay.
except for Business Boy, where we just gave out a lot of bad business.
Great. Okay.
You all
Cool.
suck.
Facts check
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. I think Hades 2 is probably just a
Real strong.
super good
Mhm.
refinement of gameplay. I know, Hooper, you said, hey, Silksong, I don't know, for that exact same reason. So I guess I want your take. If Hades 2 was a runner-up, how would you feel about it?
I mean, I'm not like against it at all.
Okay.
It's a good game.
Hades 2 is real
Good
good,
game.
real good. I would put Consume Me over Hades 2 for gameplay loop, I think. Maybe. I don't know.
I wouldn't be mad because Consume Me would have
that's
been
a-
my second
That's a
choice
good-
after that.
That's a good pick. I mean, generally speaking, I like all these games.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong.
So there's
Yeah.
no yeah. Are we locking Blueprints
Yeah, let's do it.
as
Yep.
main winner?
Yay, Blueprint.
Yay! Congratulations to
Yay.
Doggo Bomb. Shout out.
Can I just do something and then you
Do
guys
it.
tell me if
Do
this
it.
is crazy or not?
Listeners for the or go ahead.
So what I'm doing, just to describe what I'm doing, is I am putting Hades 2 and Consume Me as runners up just to see how it feels. Let's put on that shirt and see how comfy it feels.
It's pretty comfy. Do you
Fine
want
with
to
that.
share the doc? So that
Yes, we can. That's what I was just gonna do. So for video viewers, you can now, for the remaining categories, we'll have the doc up on the screen so you can watch along.
Good
How
with
does that
this.
feel?
I'm good with this. No objections.
Wow.
Cool.
All right.
Sorry, I didn't see what you did because I was moving around windows. Yeah, I think
It's the same
that's
thing. Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Cool.
So
Feels solid.
overall winner, Blueprints. Runners up, Hades 2, Consume Me. In my mind, the runners up are like equal footing. I don't think we need to rank those.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
They can just be their own little shout out, good time.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Okay, amazing. On to most underrated game.
I'm excited about this category.
Claire, would you like to read
Oh.
our nominees?
Wait,
Sure.
before we start
Okay.
this,
Yes.
Jacob, can you see Luke and Claire? I can only see the shared screen. I can't see their faces.
I can just see myself, but I think that's a...
I can
I can
only
just see
see
Jacob. It's really
Oh, I can
And
see
it
their.
doesn't
I can
let
see
me
your
change
faces.
anything. I
There you
can
go.
do
Oh.
that,
Now I see you.
Oh, I think
What
it's
did
only
you
a
do?
max of 4.
but I can't see
Now I can
either
see
of
everything.
you.
I'm
did you
I'm
do
in like a
that?
pop out screen. That's why. So I can make the window bigger.
Make it full screen, babe. Full window.
Oh.
Hi everybody.
Hello,
That's
hello.
better. Okay, cool. That actually is better.
That is better.
Okay, sorry everybody. I forgot to start capturing the doc, but
You're good. You're good.
that was
That's
all
good.
on
No big
one
deal.
category, so we're fine.
Yeah. You could just put a static photo if you wanted to.
I'll probably will just for clarity's sake. Okay, back into it. Claire, do you want to read the nominees for most underrated game?
I will do my best. For most underrated game, we have, I want to say, Kabuto Park. Is that right? Yay! Wheel World, Discounty, Tall Trails, Wednesdays, Starvaders, Shotgun Cop Man, Citizen Sleeper 2, Star Wars Vector, 30 Birds, Slime Rancher 2, Ooh, The Drifter, The King is Watching, Many Nights a Whisper, The Dark Queen of Morthulm, Keeper, and Baby Steps.
Nailed it. Well done.
Yay!
Can we start with that first game? Kabuto
Yeah,
Park? I have never heard
yeah.
of this game. What is this
Sounds
game?
pretty underrated.
So, Kabuto Park is a 2-hour game where you go and you capture insects, and then you make those insects fight each other like Pokemon.
What?
Yeah. So half of it is very much like you just go into an environment and you click an area, and then you discover, hey, do I find a bug or not? And there's a very simple capture mechanic, and then all those bugs have attributes and levels that you end up improving, and you enter a, like, let's just call it what it is. It's like a cockfighting arena for insects, and then these insects do a little push-pull mini game to determine if you win or not. You have to beat a certain amount of people, and then you win the game. I played it.
looks
It's
so
2 hours.
cute.
I
I'm
played
looking
it
at
in
the
like
Steam
2
page.
sittings. It's a Claire-ass game, I think, and it's something that you should probably play, Claire.
Follow-up question. Do the bugs die when they lose?
No, they do not.
Okay, I would
Oh,
like to
lovely.
nominate this for my game of the year. This looks so cute. What the hell?
Yeah, it's cool as hell.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, we should
want
keep
it.
talking about the other games,
How
but
much
the
does it
fact
cost?
that none of us knew about this and are immediately like, "Oh, this looks delightful."
It's
Definitely a very
$4.99 on
strong
Steam and
contender.
it's not on sale.
Yeah,
I'll see you guys later. Right now.
Claire's gonna play it between episodes and then be like,
It's
"Oh
so
wow,
cute."
yeah."
I love that.
It has bugs and the good kind, you know?
Are there spiders in there?
I don't remember if there are spiders or not. I don't remember there being spiders.
Okay. I had a bad dream about a spider last night. He was a I'm not going to actually talk about this. Never mind.
It's more like beetles and butterflies and that sort of insect than spiders.
I love that.
Hell yeah. All right.
So, I was gonna argue that best underrated game. I mean, it's our list. We can do whatever we want. But if this game is like won an award, it's probably not that underrated. That being said, I do want to talk about the Drifter before. I think it won like Australian Game of the Year award or something like that, and it's been nominated for a couple other things as well. The Drifter, very solid game. I haven't played it enough to like really champion it this year, but it has like modernized the point and click genre. Where point and clicks for me, I've played a handful of them in the past few years, and while they're fun, a lot of times they end up feeling very obtuse, very dated, very clunky. The Drifter kind of like resolves all of those problems. It kind of like modernizes controls so that people with controllers can play them just as well as people with mouse and keyboard. The story also feels like a little updated, similar to like a game called Slender Threads that came out I think last year that I also really liked because of its like modern qualities. And like it has voice acting. The art is really cool. The story so far is very interesting. And I think I nominated it for best underrated. I think I nominated it because point and click games really have like fallen out of the public zeitgeist. Like people don't really talk about them all that much. And I think a lot of times if people hear that it's point and click, they'll discount it. Drifter kind of is batting above its weight in that regard. I think, it's caught a lot of people's attention, which maybe makes it not underrated, but it's really solid. And I think a lot of people should give it a try.
Yeah, I echo your enthusiasm for that one. It made my top 10 in a very competitive year. I think it's stellar. I think the pixel art is really awesome. I think the narrative is super intriguing. And I think the moment-to-moment gameplay is so engaging in a genre that I think can be very cumbersome, but I don't think this one falls into those tropes. Really, really enjoyed it. And like you said, it did receive the award at the Indie Game Awards, but up until the nominees release, I felt like no one was talking about this game.
Yeah.
And it's still a pretty quiet one, I think, on all fronts, but definitely deserves some buzz if you enjoy the adventure genre remotely at all. I have a couple on here that I put on that I can do some quick shout outs, and then a couple that I think warrant some more long explanation. We chatted about The King is Watching in the last category. That was another one that came out so early in the year in 2025 that I feel like fell off a lot of folks' radars, but such a strong game. Great introduction into the tower defense genre. Mini Knights of Whisper and The Dark Queen of Moorholm were both ones that I put on here. We covered them on our short games episode with Kate and Travis as special guests. Both games just so stellar. You can beat both of them in under an hour. They're, I believe, both less than $5. Such fantastic narrative experiences, so distinctly different in terms of genre and vibe, but so interesting. Mini Knights of Whisper, I think, especially among the two. Jacob, tagging you in.
Yeah, I want to talk about those two games just briefly.
Please.
The Dark Queen of Moorholm, I think, has great writing, underrated writing.
It's so funny. Like,
it's
just
so
really,
funny.
Yeah.
If you say, hey, it's Dark Souls where you play the boss and you just keep facing the same player who gets stronger and stronger, it has strong Newgrounds Flash game vibes, but I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, like, that's the vibe where you could go and you could play a 30-minute thing on Newgrounds back in the day that just would make you go, huh? That's the best version of this in Dark Queen of Moorholm. Many Knights of Whisper is on my top 10 games of the year list. it has made me so excited to see what Destruct Team is that how you say that? Destruct Team, their new game where it's weird hammer guy thing. It makes me want to go back and play Cosmic Duel Sisterhood. But there are a few games that I can think of where, of course, many games are you work towards this seminal moment or this singular boss or defeating an enemy, but there are so few games that the entire game comes down to a single moment. I can't think of another game that comes down to one shot. It's almost like you're playing in the NBA and it comes, the whole game comes down to one Kobe. This game is so seminal. It is something I will always talk about if people, and so shout out to Kate from No Small Games who kind of turned me on to it. It's wild and so cool, and more people need to talk about it.
And I'll
Luke,
also
go
say
ahead.
the one asterisk with Many Nights of Whisper too. When I first heard the one shot thing, I felt a little overwhelmed because I'm like, oh, that's a lot of pressure for this single moment. Without spoiling anything, I would say, regardless of what your outcome is, the story does really interesting things. And so it's worth your time, 45 minutes regardless. And yeah, it's just such an interesting game.
And the morality in some of the moments, because it's not just
crazy.
training.
Yeah.
There's just some really cool writing in there too. So shout out to Many Nights of Whisper.
Yeah, it's a fun one to talk about with folks. And like, I would even put it in the camp of like, if folks are coming off of things like Dispatch or Telltale games or Supermassive games where you want that like choose your own adventure game to play with your partner, I think you could play this with somebody else and have an interesting experience watching somebody go through it. So just to shout that out as well. I got to talk about Baby Steps. I think I'm the only one that has positive things to say about Baby Steps. What a weird game that I think is a very powerful experience. For those that aren't familiar, this is a Bennett Foddy game and team joint. You play as this man and you are trying to walk through an open world, and it's physics-based, so your body parts are tethered to the triggers and you're maneuvering, and at first it's very difficult to walk, and then over time you get better. At the surface level, if I showed people clips of this game, it looks miserable. It looks like a really unenjoyable experience in a sense that you are constantly falling, picking yourself back up, and walking. And inherently the walking is not straightforward or easy. But there's something really tactile and almost like meditative about the experience that I found. Is once I locked in, I felt like I was in nature in this weird way of just really getting into the Zen state and this flow state of one foot after the other. And in a world that's so stressful, it felt really refreshing to just have a simple concept of I am just trying to walk. I am just trying to get from point A to point B. And I think the physics of the game work incredibly well to the point where Claire can attest that she'd walk in moments when I was playing the game and I was doing like crazy elaborate footwork and placing like 1/2 foot on this block while I lifted my knee up, and like over time things get really complex and crazy, and it gets more and more satisfying to accomplish these tasks of progressing forward. The story's really weird and goofy and goes some interesting places. Definitely not for everybody, but I do think it's a game we'll be talking about years from now. So I do think it deserves some discussion. If you're at all interested, I would say give it a go. But if you're like, this isn't for me, that's probably true. But I was really pleasantly surprised by it, personally.
I was surprised at how little fanfare the latest game from Bennett Foddy got. Not to say, like, folks in our circle were obviously eating it up. I think it's among, some people's favorite games of the year. But when I think of Bennett Foddy games, I think of how they also permeate the streaming the streaming sphere. Big streamers usually played, Getting Over It, and that weird game where you're just going up a big, I don't know what it's called, but there's another game that's very much like
Only
just
Up?
climbing a big
But
tower.
that's not a Bennett Foddy thing.
It's not. What was that one called?
Only Up.
Yeah, Only Up. So Baby Steps, I thought was going to take off in that sphere, and it didn't. So just by way of that happening, is this game underrated? Maybe it is. Also, the newest game from the Gabe, who put together Ape Out, and it just wasn't the biggest thing out there. It kind of came out and went, and so maybe it does deserve to be among the conversation for underrated.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those games that I think should have been bundled in like a PS Plus type situation, because I thought it was, and I went to play it, and then I realized, oh, it's like, what, $40 or something like that? $40.
I think it's $20.
$20?
Let me fact check that, but yeah,
Well,
I don't think it's
I'll
great.
let you
It's
know.
enough that it's not free.
I was about to say, when you think it's going to be free, whatever the number is like a infinite multiplier in terms of percent I was expecting to pay. Yeah, I think this is one of those tough games where it's like, I think the more you know about it, the harder of a sell it becomes, because if you are familiar with Bennett Foddy games, I don't remember if Getting Over It was free or like just extremely cheap, but like you could try that game out and like figure out if it was for you or not. And maybe it's frustrating, but okay, well, you didn't really spend that much. If you have a concept of Bennett Foddy games, or you even know what the premise of Baby Steps is, it's kind of hard to convince yourself to spend $20 on a game you feel like you most likely won't finish, or you most likely might not even get very far in. So that's kind of what happened to me, where it's like, I could spend $20 on this, or I could just play the countless other games I have in my backlog that I know are for me. But I do want to get around to playing this, because I think the humor that they set up and everything around like the vibes seems like totally a me type game, especially based off of Luke's recommendation. But I'll tell you what, I played that egg game. I played Egging On, and my God, that was a frustrating hour of gameplay where I'm like still in the same spot that I started in. But yeah, I don't know.
I think on this panel, you're the most possible to enjoy it.
Yeah, I believe
Hey,
that.
Luke, would you recommend this game for me?
Absolutely not, buddy. Love you very much. I know your tastes well. I don't think it's for you.
Nope.
Because I also think the story is so subtle and sparse too that I wouldn't even say like, well, the story makes up for the stressful gameplay. Like it's definitely stressful gameplay 90%. No, well, stressful is, that's a weird asterisk.
You did yell.
Yeah, but I was doing the thing. Claire's referencing a moment in the game where you get to a tower, and at the base of the tower, you meet at one of the guides in the game, and he's like, hey, there's nothing up there. Don't go up this hard to climb tower. And me being me was like, there's something up there though, right? Like I gotta go. And so you go, and there's multiple narrative moments where he keeps coming back as you're climbing, like, why are you doing this? I told you there's nothing up there. And I tried.
Don't tell me what to do.
And yeah, and at that point I was stubborn, and it was like, a hold my beer, I'm gonna go climb this tower, sir. So I spent probably like 3 or 4 hours trying to climb this tower. And I eventually had to give up, and I moved on to Ghost of Yotei, because Ghost of Yotei came out. So I never climbed the tower. But I do, because on the 210s discussion featuring Jacob Geller at MidMax, shout out, he said there's nothing up there.
No.
They tried to tell you.
Which they try to tell you, but I just think that's so funny. Like, that encapsulates kind of that game experience. But, like, that moment to moment, I got better at the game, climbing the tower. I was doing these crazy footholds and stepping on a single brick and maneuvering my full body around and doing all this stuff. And it felt so cool and exciting and, like, such a wild thing. Also, the like, music and ambient audio design is really good. Great rain sounds. I know I sound like a crazy person, but like, it's a very interesting game that I do think deserves the shout out for the folks that would be interested. So,
how does the save system work in that? Is it you choose when to save, or you fall down and then it saves automatically?
There are checkpoints, but it's like based around like core, like in the early parts of the game, you're trying to get to bonfires. So it's like when you get to the next bonfire is essentially your point. It saves automatically in like major locations, where if you get to a moment of like, if you have a narrative beat or talk to somebody, it'll save there. Or if you're at like the bottom of a giant staircase, it'll save before as you're going up the staircase. You will have to redo large sections of like 20 minutes of progress frequently if you're falling a lot, which happens a lot at the beginning, but then like I was saying is you get better at the game. I've never felt like the growth of a game because there's no perks, there's no like skills or new tools you're unlocking. It's just your sheer ability to like suss out how to approach the game, and you start feathering the triggers and like pressing things lightly versus like slamming them down and having this like gentle touch. So it's an interesting use. I played it with the DualSense too, which was cool. On PS5, so shout out to that one. But baby steps. Acquired taste, but cool game.
How do we want to just do some rapid fire on ones we haven't talked about?
Yeah.
Sure.
Can I start with,
Yeah, please.
I've just got a couple real fast. I want to shout out Discounty, which is a little shopping sim game that I played all the way through. It's very much like you set up a supermarket. It's almost like the shop part in Moonlighter or in a Stardew Valley. There's a story that is surprisingly, look, it's not the deepest story, but I was shocked at how deep it was. Played through it. I enjoyed my time. I felt like it kind of came and went. Shotgun Cop Man is the latest game from the folks that made My Friend is Pedro, and it's very much like you play a cop who's got a shotgun and who uses it both to kill enemies and also to traverse environments. It's very Meat Boy-esque. I love my time with it. There is no story to it. It is basically like you gotta chase Satan through the different levels of hell. It is a gamey game, and I loved it. Starvaders is a card-based tactics game. Yeah, everyone's clapping, so I'd love to hear from you guys as well, where you play cards and also you're moving sort of a little robot on a grid, and the expectation is, in true rogue fashion, is for you to go back and play, and then there's like a little story that kind of unravels as you go. I think it's criminally underrated. It's one that far few, like it was at a couple PAXs, but not enough people are talking about it. It's especially good on Steam Deck. Did Hoop and Luke, I know you played it, so give me your take on it.
Yeah, I've been playing this one for years. I met the devs like a few PAXs way back, and very passionate team over there. And the game is like, it's just a really, really solid game. I don't think that it necessarily does anything mind blowing. It's not like there's a huge twist that like turns the genre upside down or anything like that. But it's just a very solid game, and people who like roguelikes, who like deck builders, all those kind of things, I think most people would find enjoyment for this. So in that way, I would say it's underrated, where it's like kind of flying below the radar, but it's a very, very solid game. I don't see any major flaws with it. So.
Yeah, I echo everything you said. The devs are lovely folks. We met them years ago at a PAX as well. I was so stoked to see this one pop off critically. I believe it was in like the upper 80s or low 90s on OpenCritic, which is so cool to see. Yeah, I don't disagree with your take, Hoop, that it's like doesn't do anything like incredibly original, but it's just such a good package of the mechanics that it utilizes. I can do some quick shout outs too of a couple that I have on here. Keeper was the latest game from Double Fine that came out this year. Arguably the prettiest game in terms of unique art direction that I played. Really enjoyed the unique puzzle experience. It was short, it was sweet, it did what it needed to do. And then I think Tall Trails was the other one that I put on that we haven't chatted about. I've talked about it previously, but what a rad game. If you like games with kind of the simple, lovely heart of a short hike mixed with a crazy physics engine, an absurd sense of humor, you play as this little blob creature, Alp, out to find out his purpose in life. You find God. You scale a giant toilet the size of the Great Pyramids. You go to space. It's so rad. It's really, really fun. It was made by a solo dev. Shout out to Brady. Really, really great game.
I love my time with it, Luke. I think that in this category, to me, it's like, what is the highest delta between cool game and how many people are talking about it? And so to me, I don't want to say it is the one, but Tall Trails wasn't even nominated for the Indie Game Awards until there was a kind of a shuffle within one of the categories, and then this one came in, and I was like, this is the best solo devved game that is among these nominees. So it very much embodies the spirit of Underrated. As I don't think we heard much about it in our circles. I forget who it was who was like, maybe it was Towndro who was like, yo, this is sick. And it's a fantastic game.
It made it in my top 10, and it's high in my top 10.
Ooh, snap.
Yeah, just to, I just want to put it in perspective because I think it's such a strong year that it's like, if it made the cut, that's how much it like resonated with me personally.
I want to throw out one more that I didn't, and then I'd love to hear from Hoop and Claire on the rest. Wednesdays is a game very much like a point-and-click adventure game, which is half like theme park management, but very simple, and half storytelling. And a small trigger warning on this, it is a game about child sexual abuse, and it actually had my mouth agape one or two times with the layers that they end up throwing on and how vulnerable the creators must have been, or how like real the conversations must have gotten about the way that they, covered some of the key moments in this game. I think they also deal with trigger warnings in the game. Probably one of the best systems for trigger warnings, where they will tell you, hey, because you'll do these vignettes, and the vignettes at the beginning, they'll say, hey, it deals with this. And then there's another layer in the trigger warnings that says, hey, if you literally dealt with this and you want to know exactly what happens, we will give you a summary before you get into it. And so it was free for, I think there was an awareness day around child sexual abuse, and it was free for an entire day. So you might have this game so worth $10 if you can deal with the subject matter, one that more people should be talking about, because I think it's such a triumph.
Wow.
Claire, Hoop, any that we haven't covered you want to jump into?
30 Birds, Claire?
Sure. Yeah, I put 30 Birds and Slime Rancher 2 on here. I know 30 Birds won the IGA for Best Visuals, or was nominated.
It won.
I thought it won.
Mm-hmm.
It ought to have. It was beautiful. It's a really visually stunning game. The premise itself is just very interesting, in the way the world works, where the world is on these floating lanterns in space, and you're like moving through the world in this very like, it's like in Mario Odyssey when you go to the 2D sections and you're like on the world, but it's 2D and then it rotates, but it's like that. Except for the art style is like this really beautiful Persian-inspired art style. You're finding these birds. The sense of humor is like really dry and great, and you're tracking down these birds, and you're trying to. There's like this mysterious villain you're trying to stop, and you're trying to bring the like bird goddess back. Full disclosure, I have not played a ton of this game because every time I do, I want to lock in on it, and it is it's really cool, and I don't feel like enough people are talking about it. And then I also put Slime Rancher 2 on here. I don't really have like a sense of how popular this game is. I remember people talking about it more when it went into early access a couple years ago, and that's when I played it a bunch. But I haven't heard many people talk about it since its full release this year. And I jumped back in a little bit to see what they added since early access, and it was basically a lot of new things you can build in your observatory or your conservatory area, and just like trophies and stuff. But that's a really pretty, really fun game, and at the time I was so in on that gameplay loop, and just collecting the slimes and ranching them and doing the selling of their excrement and such, and it was just a lot of fun. And they have been adding more worlds and little areas, so big fun. Slime Rancher 2 might be more popular than I'm aware of, but I haven't heard very many people talking about it in my sphere. So
Claire, you know what the energy of this game reminded me of? It reminded me a lot of Power Wash Simulator, and how Slime Rancher 1, I'm sure, sold millions of copies and people loved it. I mean, it was on Game Pass too, where if you told me that millions of people bought Slime Rancher 2, I'd go, yeah, I believe you. But weirdly enough, on this one, it felt like people weren't talking about it as much
Yeah.
as the first one, even though arguably it's a better game than the first one.
Yeah. I didn't play the first one, but I know people who have, and it sounds like there's a lot more to do and a lot more like area to explore. It's bigger, and it's also really pretty. So like what they do with color is just cool. If you like pretty games, it's like wow. Like I feel like a little kid playing that game. I'm just like pretty colors.
I think we've almost covered everything here. Maybe except Wheel World.
Did you talk about Shotgun Cop Man?
Yeah, briefly, just quickly.
Okay, my bad.
That it was from the My Friend of My Name
That's
is
right.
Pedro
Yep.
or friends, folks. Wheel World. Wheel World's a cool game where you play a bike racer around an environment where you have a mythical bicycle and you have to collect mythical parts and you go to different worlds, and really it's just the core of it's so good. The biking part and the vibes of going through the environment and the soundtrack, I feel like Wheel World is just a cool game that more people should try.
Yeah,
previously
absolutely.
known as Ghost Bike, and then they had to change the name. I'm presuming for legal reasons.
The only thing I'll say against Wheel World is that I was heavily anticipating this one going into release. I don't know if that necessarily disqualifies, but for me, I was really looking forward to it, and it lived up to the hype, and very much enjoyed it. Highly recommend for folks if they haven't played it, though.
I mean, it's the new game from Messhoff, who made Nidhogg 1 and 2, so I think it had a good amount of hype going into it, for sure.
That said, though, like I feel like an argument could be made for Citizen Sleeper 2 as an example, because despite the hype, I haven't heard a ton of discourse around that game, considering how high folks were on it when it came out.
This might seem hyperbolic, but it is one of the best written games of all time. Period.
I don't think that's hyperbolic. Yeah. No, we need the passion, that's good.
Yeah.
We need some strong...
I was going to say Tall Trails. I mean, it came out of nowhere. You guys, I played just a tiny bit of it, not enough to get a great sense of it, but I played it on Luke's recommendation. Otherwise, I probably would have never heard of this game outside of the IGAs. And I know both of you guys loved it. Claire, I don't know if you got a chance to play it either.
I just watched Luke play a little bit. I didn't play it myself.
You'd enjoy it, though. It's a solid platform.
The way you guys talk about it and the way that like Luke said it made it on his list, I mean, that's pretty high praise. Like, even I would say most of these games, even the stuff that I would champion, like the Drifter didn't make it on my list, even though I would champion it. So
Fair.
How does that feel for the audio listener? I just highlighted it with our first place.
I would
color.
love to see it win. It's easily my favorite of this group. I mean, I strapped a watermelon to my back and shot its seeds out and flew up to a giant toilet the size of the Great Pyramids.
I'm the one who told you to do that. Remember?
I know that was your idea. Yeah, we were strategizing about how to get to the top of the toilet.
Oh my gosh,
Luke,
the whole thing.
I think one of you guys is about to do the thing that I was going to suggest as a runner-up.
I think that should be the runner-up that you're highlighting there. We got Kabuto
That looks
Park.
cool.
Oops, dying.
We didn't know it. I mean, that should count for something in terms of.
I think the
most
game looks
underrated.
fantastic. I think 30 Birds could also make the case, because
Am I
that
the
one
only
was
one
not
who's
on my
played
radar
that?
at all until Claire played it, and visually one of the most impressive games of the year for sure.
yeah,
What's
Kabuto Park
everyone's
and 30
next-
Birds. I feel like
Yeah,
those are the ones that we literally, I think our
we
listeners
never
definitely
heard
don't.
of it until this recording.
Yeah. Our listeners most likely would not know about those games, and you guys both liked your time on them pretty well. I mean, I think everything else is pretty well known. I forgot I even added Keeper on there, but like that's way like compared to
I
everything
think
else.
I threw that on there. I threw that on there just because it was like, I feel like the marketing and just like buzz going into that was pretty light. Like the people that are dialed in and love Double Fine were excited and really enjoyed it, but it felt like that was such a quiet release coming off of, that was the next Double Fine game after Psychonauts 2. Like it felt like kind of came and went a little bit.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
I wanted to give it the shout.
I think it was definitely underrated for like the size of game that it was and like the pedigree.
Sure.
But then we're talking about Kabuto Park, and it's like, damn, I could ask 100 people, and I might get maybe 2 people that know about Kabuto Park. One,
Yeah,
Jacob.
And I'm
that's
one of
fair.
them.
Yeah, that's what one of them is right here. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to point out that I wore my bird shirt today
There you
because
go.
I was going to champion 30 birds for this category.
I made
Lock
this
it
joke
in.
before we started
Lock it in.
recording, but are there 30 birds on
there
the
are
shirt?
not. There are several birds on this shirt.
Not good enough.
No. There are more birds
How
on
does-
the shirt than I've caught in the game so far.
I think that's solid. 2 runners up. That's what we did on the last category, so it doesn't feel disingenuous. So for listeners, we currently have Tall Trails winning with runners up going to 30 Birds and Kabuto Park.
Seems good.
Feels good.
Mhm.
We can
I was
tag.
gonna poke and say, Wednesdays, as a
Yeah.
potential, but I think that I've said my piece. I think it's a neat experience. Not neat, neat's a bad word, but it's definitely a seminal experience as Joseph picks up the pup.
Yeah, that's one that I would like to play at some point, just because I think it's a very important message that it has. Yeah, it's a tough subject matter to delve into, but I would defer to you, Jacob, because I think
Yeah.
you've played the most of all these games, so what you feel like
Well,
hangs
also,
makes sense,
you're the one who's played Wednesdays and Kabuto Park. So
and
between
could
the
compare it
two of
against.
those,
That's true.
You
You
can
know,
also look at that.
So here's what I think happened is Kabuto Park has 2,000 reviews on Steam, but I think it is largely because Real Civil Engineer played it on YouTube, and so it got a decent amount of views and people found it that way. But folks in our circles, I think, haven't maybe played it, and there's probably more opportunity for others to play it. 30 Birds only has 107 reviews, and I checked Wednesdays, and it has 200 reviews. I still think
Okay.
Kabuto Park, we're all plugged in, and I was the only one who knew about it. So
Yeah.
sure.
let's go with Kabuto Park.
Okay.
Okay. Seems
Fair
fair.
enough.
All
Alright.
right.
Well,
Saying the exact
she
same
likes
thing as
that.
each other.
She likes that vote.
Can you put us on speakerphone so we can say hi? I'm just kidding. Oh.
All right, let's get into our next category of the day. This is my category, the Business Boys 2025, bit of bad business. We've got a few here, so let's read through them. First, Microsoft and Xbox. Rockstar layoffs re GTA 6. The use of Gen AI in development like Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Netflix realizing they bought Warner's games business. Console price hikes / PC parts cooked. I feel like Hoop, you added that.
I
It
did,
feels
yeah.
like
Yeah, I did,
cooked
definitely.
is very Hooper coded. EA goes private. Nintendo game key cards and game sharing. Nintendo racing games. Nintendo not saying who's developing some titles pre-release. Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour is $10. Metroid Prime 4 Amiibo for Music Player. NetEase Marvel Rivals US layoffs. Krafton CEO GPT's How Not to Pay Employees re Subnautica 2. Payment processors, censorship pressure, and AAA flops. A lot of bad business this year.
Wait.
I would argue that this is probably, we always say this every year, but, the games are great. The people making games got the worst treatment they've ever gotten. Hoop?
This is technically not 2026 or 2025 because it is 2026 when we're getting this news. But I'm adding on Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Cons first new color
I thought
combination.
about that.
Because I'm heated on that one. I'm very
Are you
heated.
mad about the price or the specific colors that were selected?
I'm
Or
mad about the
both?
price and the fact that the new color Joy-Cons, when you put them in your actual Switch, are like 5% of the color of the actual. You're getting 5% new colors when you look at it connected to your actual Switch. All the color is on the inside, which slides into the dang Switch 2.
Right.
You don't really see it, and you're paying $100 in this economy for what?
Unless
For
you're
what,
playing
everyone?
Mario Kart and you got the little
That's true.
thingy.
That's
also,
true.
fact check me. That's more than if I walked into a store right now and just bought another set
It
of
is.
the red
It's
and blues.
$20 more. $20 more. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, that seems crazy. That part
mean-
seems really weird, but okay.
All right, Jake.
I think the
Alright.
crazy part is Nintendo continues to, not to be the Nintendo hater here, but I feel like they have an antagonistic relationship with their core fan base at times, where if folks like us who play all of their games and have for their entire lives and are hardcore about it, I think they'd prefer that we go away and never come back. And so sometimes they just do things that will make folks like us mad. Examples: Welcome Tour being $10, Joy-Con colors, like little shit like that. They are not even among the conversation in my mind of even like top 3 worst offenders in games. I would argue they're not even top 5 of worst contenders. We have a lot of
silly little shit. Just
always silly little shit.
That's why we're getting it out early.
Yeah. On that note, can I rant about the Joy-Con, or not
Please.
the Joy-Con thing, the amiibo thing before we move on? Because this is the silly little shit segment. But like, how dumb in a game where you're like, there's an open world area, you can ride around the desert, for them to restrict music, a core aspect of the game design, behind an amiibo. It's insane. The game is good. I enjoy Metroid Prime 4. I think it's arguably the prettiest game on the Nintendo Switch 2, which we'll talk about when we get to visual design. But like, crazy choice. Absolutely wild, unhinged behavior.
And also the fact that amiibos are so expensive now. Like, it's not even like
it's
$40.
Yeah, that's almost a full other game. That said, did I think about buying it? Yeah. I didn't though. Yeah, at least.
See, you know what? We might as well just bundle all this Nintendo stuff together since we're here.
Silly little shit, yeah.
I think it like falls into 2 categories with Nintendo. Like Luke said, there are some things where it's like, this is kind of ridiculous, but the concept is good. Like, the concept of the amiibo itself is good enough to where it's like, oh, I might actually want to spend money on this. And then there's the like Joy-Con thing where I'm like, okay, nobody's really winning paying $20 extra for this like violet and like turquoise color. Like, why wouldn't you guys just make it the full Joy-Con color? I mean, that's on my soapbox. That's also a little foolish. I mean, there's also like Nintendo not saying who's developing some games. I'll cut them some slack there in that they've always been bad at this. So I assume
I'm not cutting them any slack. That's bullshit.
I mean, it is bullshit.
Who's making the game? It's
but
bullshit.
My thought about the process is it is 100% bullshit. But if you're a developer, you're not necessarily getting screwed over, because I think if you're going to develop for Nintendo, you usually are aware that this is the process. I don't think it's a good process, but I think there's probably developers that are more passionate about actually developing a Nintendo game than whatever the process is. It is bullshit, but on the scale of bullshit, a little bit lower.
I just, I think that Nintendo, if they had their way, they would just, everything would be an amorphous blob of Nintendo made it. Yeah. Including the voice actors, who we didn't know who the pardon my French, who the fucking voice for Mario was going to be going forward until the game came out. We didn't.
His name's Kevin.
Oh,
his name's Kevin. Yeah.
Shout out Kevin
we didn't know Acquire was making Mario and Luigi Brothership until the game came out. Acquire, who's worked on, some great titles for many years. They do a lot of like B-tier anti-consumer shit, but I think it's mostly a cultural difference between the way we would operate in North America and Europe versus in Japan.
I mean, at the end of the day, for this, the reason I'm less mad is because it's kind of like us as consumers us as video game nerds are really like sensitive about these things. But if you made Breath of the Wild and your name is in the credits, you can still put it on your resume. Like, I made a lot of stuff at work. Nobody ever knows if I made these things or not, because there isn't a credits list in the world of like software development, but I can just put it on my resume and like somebody can back me up, which is why I'm like, I'm sure them having the prestige of saying I made something for Nintendo is like enough to where they're not going to be like, hey, fuck you guys for, doing this or that, because they know they're a part of the family of people that made this. Granted, I'm sure it would still be fantastic, and I would love for Nintendo to publicize these things and give Kevin his credit. Yeah, I think they're kind of just set in their ways, and hopefully they're paying these people very well and they're treating them with respect during the process. And this is just kind of like one of the trade-offs that they have to make to work in a protected company like Nintendo.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, we talked about
Can
the
I-
game key cards, but Jacob, I don't know if you want to say anything else about that.
What even is it? I still
I
don't
still
fully
don't really
understand
know.
it.
Couldn't explain it to you if you paid me.
Nope. Game sharing too. I just found out that you have to be in the same Nintendo Switch Online family, and then it's
Oh.
only 2 weeks. And I think you actually have
Is
to
that
do it
true?
locally. You can't even give a game key card over the internet. It's batshit, and I don't understand it. And this is my
Wait,
thing. And I
as
don't.
in,
Wait.
clarifying question. Like, I can't give you a physical copy of a game?
No,
No,
Or you're
no.
saying, like,
see,
the digital
Nintendo
key
being
shit.
malarkey. Their game sharing feature that's
Yeah.
built in for like if I want
Oh,
to share. I think you can do this with physical and digital, where I say, "Cool, I have a copy of Metroid Dread. I am going to lend it to you, Luke. We have to be part of the same Nintendo Online family, and I think you have to be in person together for me to say, here you go on my system, and then like a library book, it just after a certain amount of time leaves your system.
So
Weird.
the in-person part, I'm like, okay, you're trying to make it like as if the digital game was a physical game, whatever.
Yep.
Is the family thing true? Because I thought the whole point of it was like they're opening it up so any people of any creed and color and family could share these games.
If that is true, the one thing I would argue is that I do feel like even just amongst our household with multiple Switches going on, and Claire's got her Switch Lite and stuff, it's always been a pain in the ass to like transfer saves between systems, or if Claire starts something on Switch 2 but she ends up wanting to play it on Switch Lite, like that's a very
I
cumbersome
still haven't gotten my Hades
thing.
saves
Yeah.
over to my Switch Lite,
Damn.
but I haven't.
We
I haven't
can't.
tried that
The
hard,
tech is
in
there.
all
We could do it
fairness.
if we
I
wanted
tried
to.
once.
It's just, yeah.
And then I gave up. But still,
Honestly,
So
I'm very
there are
baffled.
whole Reddit threads about this where people are like, "Do I believe so?" It sounds like no.
if Reddit
I'll
doesn't
read
know
this
the
comment.
answer,
Yeah.
that's
That's
how you
a
know
problem.
It's fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, Todd Barker on Reddit said, "I don't believe so. No, you have to set their Switch as the home primary console for your account. To then play those games on your now non-primary Switch will require an online connection to validate and play them." Why
I
is
think
all this shit
the funny
backwards?
thing
The
about it
online
being
validation
backwards.
sucks too, because like I have physical games, and I slot the cartridge in, and it will not let me play it if I'm not connected to the internet, even if
Yeah.
it's not an internet.
Yeah, I've had that
necessary
happen to
game.
me on like
It
airplanes
makes no
before. It's
sense.
super annoying. The one thing I'll say about this too is it's so funny because this is like optional functionality that they didn't even need to do.
Yeah.
But they bothered to do it and did it just so complicated.
Yeah, it always baffles me how Nintendo is like the most family first company. Like they're selling the most products to the most normie people of all time, yet out of pretty much every console, they have the most confusing processes to take advantage of most of the features, whether it's random Bluetooth turning on or like the Nintendo subscription. So like all of it's like very cumbersome, especially for a kid or a parent who doesn't know games setting this up for their kid.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, but apparently it doesn't matter because they are a $1 billion company, I think. I'm sure they have $1 billion. So yeah, I don't know.
I had to show off my Nintendo mug before we move on from talking about silly Nintendo stuff. But
I mean, that
It's
is
a
a
good
nice
mug.
mug.
Good mug.
it's a good mug.
I'm a man who has a Alarmo in my house, and I actively use it. So I think I'm allowed to talk about this petty little shit. But can we talk
like
about stuff that's, I think,
When you talk shit
more
about your little brother.
exactly
Yes.
100%? Yes. Can we talk about stuff that's actually really bad for business?
Yeah, let's
Please.
Why don't we start with Microsoft and Xbox? What a catastrophically bad year Xbox had. I don't think you could have a worse year from community sentiment from Xbox. Multiple price hikes, both in hardware and on their core service that they've pushed people to. Were studio closures last year or this year? I can't even remember.
This
They
year we
started
had
with a massive layoff.
we had
in,
the
like,
initiative close.
January.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they it looks like they closed We'll double check this, but they closed some. They did layoffs in June of 25, which included the initiative.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you guys, but for the first time, I found myself not purchasing games on Xbox, where now I've kind of moved my like. I am an Xbox guy, arguably. Look at all these Xbox titles for the video viewer. I've been Xbox as my primary console for a long time. And because of all this, I've finally said, I'm not, like, look, am I going to sell all of these video games? No. But am I buying my primary console, PlayStation 5? 100%. And it is in part because of these very poor business decisions. And I understand that everything costs more. And so the hardware price hike, like, I understand. I hate it, but I understand. But just doubling the price or increasing the price of Game Pass by 50% when you've pushed people to it for years and years, made a ton of acquisitions around it, sucks. I don't know about you guys, but I canceled my subscription in January of this year, and I'm not going back.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I think the worst part about it to me is that we're finally in an era where the studios are kind of like actually producing, and it's like now that it just happened a little too late to where like there are now like a billion barriers to access these games that the studios are now putting out. Like we had Keeper last year, which we talked about just earlier, and like that not a lot of people played it, I imagine, because the campaign cycle just wasn't that great for it, even though it was a great smaller packed game. I think Avowed and Outer Worlds 2 weren't bad games, but we had a controversy with about Outer Worlds 2 where it had to be marked to $80 and then it got put back down. And it's just like a lot of things that it seems like marketing and just C-suite, the C-suite level executives are kind of just getting in the way of their own studios. And I think we're just kind of in the Microsoft era of Xbox now, where it's like the time where Phil was calling the shots and like really kind of pushing the direction and making decisions is over now. I think now it's kind of like we have a bottom line, we have this number, we have to hit this number. It doesn't matter if we don't hit this number, then we're going to cut to hit it, which is crazy. I'm similar to Jacob, but I have now kind of moved over to PC just because I feel like I just have the most freedom that I can possibly have over there in terms of like now I can play games on my Steam Deck and my PC, and I don't need to worry about, you know, backwards compatibility when the next whatever comes out. Like I just am kind of done with all of that stuff, and I still have Game Pass because I did this hack where I have it for like 3 years for like half the price. But yeah, like it doesn't, once that runs out, it runs out. Like the price hike is insane. That was the one thing they had going for them, and now it's like there's nothing left. Like, and once again, it looks like we're going to have a showcase in like a couple weeks. I'm sure there are going to be great games, but I think a lot of these games are going to be, unfortunately, like hindered by the overall console and brand getting in their way and doing bad things to kind of put negative press around them. So,
Sure.
I'm sure a very smart person at Microsoft in finance went and said, if we raise the price 50%, we will only churn 30% of our customers, and therefore we will make more money. That is 100% what happened. It just sucks to do that to fans who have been around for arguably almost 20 years. You're really like biting the hand that feeds you. And I think in the short term, it may totally work out for them. But I think in the long term, I don't know how you guys feel, but I think Xbox gets their next kick at the can, hardware, ecosystem, etc. But I think the clock is now ticking for Microsoft from their gaming division, where they have 3 to 5 years to really make this work in a way that's more sustainable. It makes a ton of money, but I think the way that we've talked about in a past episode, the way the books look, where they don't necessarily house development costs on the P&L of Xbox, which is crazy. So I think they have 3 to 5 years to make it real profitable.
I think it's over. I mean, not Xbox as a brand, but like, I think all of the things that we liked that they were losing money on have gone away. Like the console they were losing money on, they've clearly raised the price there. Game Pass they were losing money on or weren't making enough money on, they've raised the price there. And now they're just publishing in like we'll talk about Call of Duty. As bad as Call of Duty was this year, like probably one of the worst Call of Duties in like the last 2 years. I guess the 2 years ago was really bad as well. Still probably made I don't know, several hundreds of millions of dollars. So they have money printing machines in that they go to the Call of Duty mines, whip a couple people and say, hey, please give us this next. They don't say please. Hey, give us this next Call of Duty 8 or whatever, and they'll make $1 million. So I think Call of Duties will still keep coming out. I don't know about Fables and Keepers and stuff like that. We'll see. But as long as Call of Duty stays on the top selling charts and Candy Crush is up there too, we'll see at least those 2 games. Every other game, I'm not sure.
I feel like Call of Duty has peaked, though, and we are now in the post-peak.
I mean, coming down off of a $1 billion revenue a year is still a long come
shucks.
down.
You only make $900 million. Shucks.
Yeah, we got a long come down.
For sure.
I mean, unless Battlefield really takes off. But yeah.
I think in that sense, even if the game's awful, we'll still have people that... There's just general public folks that only buy Call of Duty, Madden, and that's their year.
2K.
Every year. And 2K. Yeah, that's it. And I don't see that stopping anytime soon. Claire and I still have our Game Pass subscription, and we're paying the stupid high price, which I hate. But I've sat down and done the math, and it's like, it's close. But each month there's usually something that's like a $25 indie, $20 indie here or there.
We
that
might start like canceling it on months when we are not actively playing games on it, the way we kind of do with our streaming services, where it's like, okay, we're canceling Apple TV because Severance is over, and we'll turn it back on when Shrinking comes back, is what we did this past year.
Because like when there is a big first party thing, it justifies the cost, but otherwise it's getting expensive.
I think I've done the math too, and it is literally like right on the line of like worth it or not. But I think in my head, I think about it as like, we're like the minority, so it may be worth it for us, but then there's a lot of Joe Schmoes out there who I'm like are getting super hosed by this, which sucks big time for them.
They're like, what the heck is a keeper? Where is my $80 video game?
Rest in peace.
Yeah. And the tiers and not being able to access
all
the
tiers
games.
Are crazy too.
And
yeah.
I also I find it off-putting just in general of like, why would I pay for the lower tier and not know if the game coming out, the next game coming out that I would want to play is going to be on that tier or not?
Yeah.
I will say one thing we haven't mentioned amidst Game Pass is the fact that Claire Obscure launched day and date on Game Pass. I believe, I don't remember the exact stat, but it was the biggest launch like on that platform for a non-Xbox first party, I believe, or something along those lines. So, like, I think a lot of people did... I think that game caught fire in a way that it otherwise wouldn't have without Game Pass, because I think more folks gave it a try, then word of mouth, then everybody bought it on other platforms, but...
That was pre-price hike, though, with Claire. Like,
true. That's a fair call.
I'm curious in 2026... I said, did I say I'm curious? I'm curious in 2026, like...
You're Claire.
How many of those big games actually get put on like either the lower tiers or like something that's not just insane? Like how many good value releases are we going to get this year? It'll be interesting to see. But we got more stuff on here that we got to run through here. Very quickly, we talked about the console hikes for Xbox. Everything's kind of going up. This all ties back to like AI and semiconductor chip shortages and RAM shortages. Everything's in a shortage in terms of PC parts. I'm like honestly genuinely concerned over this next year on like what everything is going to look like, because for people that don't really care about PC at all, the RAM prices for gaming PCs have like almost doubled to tripled at this point. Like it's an insane, like you could buy some RAM for like 150 before. It's now like, 500, maybe even more, depending on where you're looking or like what you're looking at. And hard drives like SSDs are slowly starting to creep up as well, which, all these different parts, are prevalent in not only handhelds, but your consoles, as well as, people building their own PCs. So I'm sure earlier in episodes, like previous episodes, we talked about the Steam machine. I talked about I'm excited for it and I'd love to get one and pick one up. But now I don't think it's even viable. Like them putting out a Steam machine, it has to be like, I don't know if they'll delay it or what's going to happen, but they literally can't put this out at a reasonable price with whatever is going on in the world right now, with all the shortages. And I assume once the supply of PS5s runs out and once the supply of Switch 2s run out, we're also going to see some shenanigans over there, whether it's game costs rising to kind of like offset things or whatever. But it's going to be a really tough year with consoles, and that makes me sad because I think that just means less people are going to get into video games this year and beyond as like the barrier to entry becomes higher and higher. Yeah. So
we haven't said the T word yet in this entire category, and I didn't write the T word either. Do you remember when the tariffs?
Oh,
do you remember
right.
when the Switch 2 came out and they had to delay the pre-orders because, again, we didn't know if the consoles were coming from China or Vietnam and at what tariff rate it would be, and would that affect the price? Yeah. And are we paying tariffs? It sounds like some of us are and some of us aren't. What country, what category? This whole situation is a mess, and I do not envy anyone, to your point, Joseph, who tries to get into gaming in 2026. This is the worst time to get into gaming of all time. Yeah, there is no worse time.
Truly. Except maybe
I hope you like playing games on your phone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. Can I hit on a trio real fast of
sure.
bad business?
Yeah,
EA was brought private through the Saudi investment fund and Jared Kushner. And so we'll see what happens with EA over the next couple of years. I'm sure we will sports wash the entire situation, and every studio that does not make sports or mobile games that make money will be gone. So that's cool. Netflix, when they were building the valuation for the purchase of Warner, didn't look at their games division at all as a part of the valuation. And I know I'm really like simplifying something, Hoop, so maybe you'll add on, but essentially like Netflix kind of just stumbled into let's call it doubling, tripling, quadrupling the size of their games division by accident almost. And then Rockstar just laying off a bunch of employees around GTA 6 because they tried to create a union due to working conditions, especially in the UK. People Make Games, Chris Bratt, has done a great series of videos on the exact situation there, so I will point folks to that. It sucks. Shit sucks. And is there a world where GTA 6 is delayed again? Because it is such an enormous game, such an important thing for Take-Two's financials, and they let go of 100 people who worked on it? Who knows? I don't know. Hoop, do you want to add to the Netflix thing that I simplified?
I was just going to say, this is kind of bad, but also it's kind of like Netflix like going into the attic and finding some like rusted hardware parts and being like, yeah, I guess. Like Warner Brothers Games has been like stumbling and falling and scraping their knees for like the past 5 years straight. Nothing they've done really has been that exciting for gamers outside of like Hogwarts Legacy, which I think the general audience really glommed onto. But in terms of stuff that we've truly been anticipating, we haven't really gotten anything. And I will say Netflix games mostly not that good. But yesterday I played Lego Party through the Netflix app on the TV, and it worked really well. It worked really well. So I don't know, maybe those folks can team up with the rest of the Warner Brothers Studios and actually give us a good Wonder Woman game. I don't know the correlation there, but maybe we can have something happen. Like, I'm in the mindset of like, it's pretty bad. I haven't played a Warner Brothers game since Arkham. I don't know how much worse it can get outside of people getting laid off, which obviously is always bad. But yeah, I don't know. We need to turn that ship around somehow.
What's NetherRealm doing? What are they doing these days?
I forgot they were owned by Warner Brothers. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I'm sure I think that's on another Mortal Kombat something.
DC versus what is it called? Injustice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah. Gen AI in games. We'll. I don't think this is the year we put this on here because I think next year
it's going to be worse.
It's going to be worse, and so I would say like shit sucks. I mean, we know the Expedition 33 situation where placeholder assets were put in the game. They used the tools when they were nascent. They took them out. But the thing that's going to be even more difficult to understand with this stuff is that the tools that devs use are going to have Gen AI elements in them. And so I'm sure some devs, I'm going to give some people the benefit of the doubt, at a certain point, will they even know the ethics of the tool that they're using to generate assets, who knows?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to get worse before it gets better here. And I think next year it'll be so much worse than this year.
I think that is true.
I think now it's bad, but as a player you can avoid it if you want to. But I think we're going to get to a point where, especially on the AAA side,
you don't get to decide to not participate in the AI culture. It's gonna
unless you just don't play a wide swath of games.
Yeah, I think it's going to be...
Which I'm sad about, but...
Right now, it's mostly kind of the concept of using the AI and like the ethics about the tools themselves and like what that means. We didn't see that many popular games take the Black Ops 7 route, where they literally used trashy assets in the game that were clearly dog water and literally helped ruin the game because of how bad they were. I think 2026 is, if it's going to happen, it's going to be next year, where we see genuinely trashy assets. It's not even like an ethics thing. It's like you were actively, it's not clear obscure, where it's like we didn't really know, but now that we know, it kind of feels a little weird. It's like this actually is ruining the game, and we can see it plain and clear. I think that's probably going to be a little bit more rampant next year, especially with the bigger companies, if I had to guess.
I will say the Call of Duty 7 thing is wild, just because I personally, as someone who hasn't played a lot of the recent ones, loved Black Ops 6. Like, that single player was super fun. We played the multiplayer together, Hoop, and had a blast with it. Yeah. Like, I was playing that game on and off for weeks. And then all this scuttlebutt around 7, I didn't even touch the campaign because it was such a mess. And they had such goodwill coming off of 6 that it's crazy how they just tanked it.
Yeah, this seems to be their playbook, where it's like they'll put out a decent one or a good one, and then because the other studio has to be rushed or crunched or whatever happens, I feel like they rarely get a cadence where 2 or 3 in a row are solid.
Bangers, yeah.
Because I think the
one
for Black Ops 6 was very bad.
Yeah. I was just going to say, and I don't wholly blame the devs in that case. At least, like, you know, you're not management level folks, because I think they're just doing what they can. But
sure,
damn, the
tough
pressure they're under is not reasonable.
Yeah.
It does seem like they're going to not do back-to-back in the same series anymore. That they won't do like Black Ops 6 then 7. That they might jump around. But beyond the Gen AI stuff, the thing we haven't, I think, explicitly said is Black Ops 7 had, you can't pause. It's you have to be online. There are no checkpoints. Like Black Ops 7 was a weird game, I think.
Sure.
Let me just hit on some of these really quickly. NetEase, essentially, Marvel Rivals comes out and they lay off their entire U.S. studio. It sucks.
Including the director of the game.
Including the game's director, and stuff still comes out. Payment processors decided this year that they were going to start to come down on games that they felt, maybe didn't reflect their values. And so Horses, I think, is one example of a game that the payment processors pressured the platforms to deplatform. I think that shit sucks. And then I added $80 games on here because we talked about it. And then Crafton asked ChatGPT, how do I not pay my employees bonuses? And this stuff is out there. It's crazy. I don't know, Claire, as our biggest fan of Subnautica 2 and Subnautica, how do you feel about this?
Wait,
I'll actually let Joseph go first.
Yeah, before we go there, I don't think Horses was a part of the censorship one. I think that was a different controversy where...
Oh, we were talking like anime hentai games were banned, and then Horses was separate.
Horses was separate, but there were like some non-hentai games, I think, also banned in the censorship thing, and it was hard because I think when a game got banned, that kind of like screwed up the whole developers' revenue and like how they could advertise the game, how they could appeal it. It was a whole thing, and it was because of payment providers. But Horses was slightly different controversy. Just wanted to clarify that. All right, Claire.
The whole Crafton thing is just so gross. It was such a gross ongoing story to hear all of the different wrinkles and like the lawsuit and the fact that Crafton was like, we're the good guys, we promise, and then went on to do a bunch of really scuzzy stuff, like laying off more people, saying we're an AI first company now. Then it came out that they had used ChatGPT to try to figure out how to get out of paying these bonuses, and I'm like curious if like did ChatGPT tell them to do all the bullshit that they did, or was that right from the human dome? Because I mean, and the allegation that they set crazy expectations and then didn't communicate what those were, and then like set people up for the devs up for failure, and then said, you didn't meet our expectations, you're out of here, and basically did the hostile layoff shit that like as a teacher that our unions protect us from, where an admin could come in or be like, actually you're really bad at your job and you're out of here, and the union like exists to stop that from happening. And it's just like, I mean, yeah, gross.
So, all this sucks. Let me just remind us, last year we ended up choosing just 3 pieces of business that sucked, and those pieces were Xbox, Ubisoft, and Sony's online games. I don't know how y'all feel, but I feel like Microsoft and Xbox need to be on this list. They continue to just piss away all of the goodwill that they built over the past 18 years. If they have a fan base in 3 years from now, that'll be a miracle. But I feel like that needs to be here as one of them. I don't know how y'all feel.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
And I feel like
one...
tariffs, pricing pressures, that also maybe needs to be on here. But I don't feel as strongly compared to the top
one I feel quite strongly about that we haven't talked about a ton is Rockstar, just because I feel like of all the companies on this list, they could afford to do right by their team, and they're not. And that really bothers me as a fan of those games. GTA 6 is going to be the highest selling game of all time, and it just...
The union busting shit is so
it's just
gross.
really
Crazy.
sick and gross
it's disgusting.
Amidst how much money they have on the table.
This pattern of, we're going to use these people up, we're going to make the game, and then also with like the Marvel Rivals
The Marvel
thing too,
Rivals shit has
like,
the same
and then
cadence
now that
where
we've
it's
got
like,
what we
cool,
want,
game
you're
successful,
gone.
bye.
And we're not going to continue to pay you even as we continue to rake in money, and it's just and that's why unions exist. But then anytime anyone tries to unionize, it gets shut down.
Yeah.
I don't even want to give them grace here, but if it was a let's call it like a boxed product where you shipped it and that was the end of it, that would be one thing. But these are games that will continue to make money through recurring revenue for years and years and years.
Right.
And so to cut the team when there's still content coming out or there's people still playing online sucks even harder.
Yeah.
Agreed.
What kind of bad biz do we feel like we should highlight here?
I mean, it's all pretty bad. I'm
Craft-
down to highlight the Rockstar stuff.
Yeah, I think that, yeah.
I mean, tariffs and console stuff is pretty bad too.
How do we feel about these 3 for the audio listener? Microsoft and Xbox. I changed the second bullet to be tariffs and price pressures, console price hikes and PC parts cooked, and Rockstar layoffs, re-GTA 6 and unionization.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think the thing with the price pressures is like things cost more because things cost more, and inflation, and the people who are manufacturing the products aren't necessarily doing it to be assholes.
Yeah.
But
That's my only
the people
thing with
driving
that
the,
one.
So it's like, who is the bad guy here in each of these scenarios?
AI and the U.S. government.
Yeah,
Those
U.S.
two.
government. If we can just add a little like asterisk there, it's like not the product manufacturer's fault. This is actually entirely the U.S. government.
In
fault.
this instance, I'm not mad at Mr. Nintendo.
I am mad at the Cheeto.
NVIDIA. Add NVIDIA on there. They're the root cause of all of this.
I mean, here's the thing. We talked a little bit about EA going private. That kind of sucks.
It does kind of suck, but I always...
Is it the number one thing? I don't think it is.
I didn't really like EA to begin with, so it... it's
My
like
thing is, I
shit
think
gets
it'll...
shittier.
Yeah, and I think it'll be our number one 2 to 5 years from now.
I think
is
They
kind
actually
of
start
how
doing
I
stuff.
feel.
my number
We'll
one
be
is,
real mad this year when they close
Well,
BioWare.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
know it's not good news, but nothing has come of it in terms
Yeah,
of studio that I know of, at least publicly. So I'm not arguing it's good and shouldn't be on this list, but I don't know.
I mean, Crafton.
Crafton is my number one for
It's
sure.
pretty bad business. That's about as bad as you can get for that size of a company.
One thing, my brother-in-law, he plays like Battlefield every year, and so he was telling me how we all heard that Battlefield launched pretty successfully, but it sounds like one, Arc Raiders may have eaten their lunch. That's my perspective, but from his perspective, the monetization in that game has become a cesspool, and the
really?
community is very mad at it. Where they paid for a $70 game, and they
Now
get
they're getting
slapped with
nickel and dime.
monetization.
Jeez.
Yes, at every turn. And so the player base is way down from where it was. They had a beautiful thing that they pointed 3 different studios. Battlefield Studios is now a combination of DICE, Criterion, Motive, and I'm forgetting another studio. They're doing the Call of Duty thing, but
Yeah.
for Battlefield now.
Yeah.
I just wonder, will they close some of those studios now?
See.
Do we just leave it at these two and just say all this shit sucks and these 2 things suck particularly?
Yeah, everyone's the asshole here.
I have an honorable mention here,
Yeah.
which is there's a lot of AAA games that just absolutely dropped the ball, including Black Ops 7, including Mind's Eye. What the hell was that? That was insane.
Never
that was
forget. Never
insane
forget.
release where the director or the CEO after the game comes out is just like insulting random people, being like, oh yeah, it was an inside job by these other companies that have nothing to do with this game. Marathon literally stole someone's artwork. Like, what are we talking about here? They literally stole someone's artwork and they found the assets in the game, and they were like, oh yeah, this person's name is literally on the art in the game. You can see their signature. That was insane. FBC Firebreak, RIP. I love Remedy, but that game was actually insane as well in terms
to the
of
point where now they're technically a public company in Sweden.
Yeah.
Remedy is now reconsidering their entire financial forecast and the entire future of the company's financials because of how poorly FBC Firebreak did.
and the CEO got
Which
fired.
is insane to me, because what were they expecting with that one? Like
I don't know.
It just, but
Something not this, I
don't
imagine.
know.
So I think last year or 2025 was definitely kind of like a strong indie year, strong like smaller company year, and they kind of outshone AAA in large swaths. I don't know if that'll be a 2025 year just by the insane amount of money in the games that are going to come out this year, but I think there's definitely the winds are changing this year for sure. So that was just an honorable mention.
IO started a publishing company, and Mind's Eye was their first published title. And will they publish any more titles? We don't know.
So actually, we'll never do that again. Thank you very much.
Never again.
I'm going to propose a motion to call it dishonorable mention.
Dishonorable
How do we
mention.
feel?
Good.
How do we
Good.
feel? Okay,
Honorable
great.
mention.
So is that it? Or are we just going to highlight
Let's
these
wrap
two
it
and
up.
say this shit sucks? Or are we going to say we're going to put Gen AI this year, and it will continue to be a problem?
I think it's always a problem.
Gen AI is
Yeah,
awful.
I hate it. Go away.
All right, I'm going to close the category and say that our 2 winners or losers for the bit of bad business are Microsoft and Xbox, and Rockstar laying off folks GTA 6. But all this shit sucks. Please do better. Thanks a lot.
Hell yeah.
Please.
All right. I think that brings us to a close for today's part 1
On
episode.
that sunny note.
On that sunny note. But come back, because next week we have such delightful categories as the Luke Lewis chill out with a coffee on a rainy weekend afternoon game. That's still a mouthful.
Luke, tease them with the nominees of the next
nominees
week's as a
of that
positive
one?
note. Yeah,
The
tease them.
nominees are as follows: Spilled, delightful; Despolote, very wonderful game; Expelled, Winterboro, Make Room; Tiny Bookshop; Wheel World, Is This Seat Taken?, Cast and Chill, Lego Voyagers, and Keeper. Every single one of those games is lovely. Just a lovely vibe. So we'll bring those lovely vibes to you next episode. All right. Thanks, everybody. Any good of the order to plug things you're cooking in the new year that is 2026. All right.
Go to i.can't.pause on Instagram. Go ahead and follow that Instagram account because I'm posting all my YouTube videos on that account as well.
Love it.
So.
Hell yeah. We'll link that in the episode description too. With that, I think that brings us to a close. But before we finish up, I'm going to ask you to do 4 things for us. Give us a follow on YouTube at Crossplay Convos. You can follow us on BlueSky at Crossplay Convos as well. Send this podcast to a friend because that's how people hear about podcasts. And what am I forgetting? I don't have the show notes.
Send it to a friend because that's how people hear about podcasts.
He just said that one.
Damn it.
Leave us a review on your podcasting platform of choice because it's a new year and every review matters. Super appreciate it. Go play a game in 2026.
Yeah.
Bye.